Say a special good morning to the listeners, viewers of course, the listeners of Classic Radio, viewers of GBN TV. Welcome to today's edition of To The Point. I'm your host, GT. Saying good morning to those of you also via our social media platforms, Facebook page, YouTube channels. Good morning once again. It's a beautiful Friday in the Spice Isle. Those of you who are probably living out of the Spice Isle, when I say it's a beautiful day in the Spice Isle, it is a beautiful day thus far in the Spice Isle. You know, on Fridays, we do have various individuals representing the DPM, simply like to say the movement. And today, of course, we have the lovely lady making her debut on the program. Let me say good morning to, of course, Miss Charmaine Gibbs with us this morning. How are you, Miss Gibbs? Good morning and welcome to The Point.
Good morning and thanks for having me. And as I listen to you describe Grenada being beautiful, I'm feeling beautiful as well myself.
Simply are. All right. So welcome once again. So to stop it off, how are you doing this morning? How are you this morning?
I'm excited to be here actually. It's my first time being on this platform representing the DPM, and I'm very excited to start.
All right, and you're certainly welcome to have you. I'm excited to have a conversation with you. I've been hearing the conversation about you going around, and it's my pleasure to find out more about you this morning. To break the ice, as some folks would say. Who is Charmaine Gibbs? In a typical way of finding us. Tell me about Charmaine Gibbs.
Okay, so just to give you a little story without having to go into too much details. Charmaine Gibbs, and I grew up in the golf course. I'm the daughter of Joe Gibbs,
right,
the famous cricketer. Do you know him?
I know.
Right. He also worked in Ministry of Health all of his life. My mom is Brenda Gibbs, and I grew up in Grand Anse, in golf course to be specific. I worked all of my life in the tourism sector, both airline and as a tour operator. And here I am today now on a different platform.
I love that brief bio. Now, you have decided to jump into the political realm. Tell me briefly also, what have driven you towards this? Okay. You know, there's a lot of times folks get that cold feet to jump into the political realm these days, you know, that political realm where, you know, politics and everything. What drove you to wanting to be into frontline politics?
Well, first things, I do not have cold feet. That is one thing I'm not known for. I don't have cold feet.
All right.
And to be honest, I have always been interested in the general governance of the country.
All right.
And for years, I have watched and listened, and you know, you listen to different people's perspective, or you see how policies roll out, what works, what doesn't work. And for years, I remained on the sideline until I attended the launch of the DPM last year. Yeah. And for the first time, I actually heard plans and policies that aligned with everything that I envisioned for Grenada. And that's where my turning point was. And I said, you know what? I'd like to be a part of this movement, and so that I can actually partake and offer all of my services to Grenada and to the South, St. George South, and not just the tourism aspects, because in my opinion, I have served within the tourism industry, and this now being a part of the movement is only turning my focus slightly on the community as opposed to just the tourism.
All right, great. You mentioned briefly, but I want to know still why. Why the DPM for you? The DPM. You said you went to the launch. What was mentioned grabbed your interest in the DPM, but still, why the DPM?
Okay, so there's lots of reasons there. If I went through all my reasons, we'd be here more than an hour. The fact that we have such a great leader, the Honorable Peter David, this is one of the determining factors for me. In my opinion, he has more experience than a lot of the other politicians who mean it. So I have a lot of confidence in him, right? So that's one aspect. Secondly, a lot of the focus is on development.
Yes.
Health. We have 3 pillars as we go along. I'll explain more. And the focus is on the people.
Yeah.
Health, development. Okay, and these things really appealed to me when I heard all of the plans during the launch, and I definitely want to be a part of that.
All right, great. I see that. Now, folks may see you, of course, in the political realm as a newbie. per se. And I guess I'm right about that. I mean, it's the first time you're putting yourself in the forefront that it is. What is that political aspiration for, Charmaine? What is it about politics that, since after the launch and now getting your feet, maybe having conversation with folks in the particular constituency that you want to run in, what is that political aspiration for, Charmaine?
I think the core comes from my passion for my country.
Yeah.
And then I love people. And anytime I see situations where persons may be at a less advantage or suffering or need assistance, it breaks my heart, and I feel helpless if I'm just standing on the sideline and not doing anything. Yeah. So this allows me, as a candidate representing the DPM, allows me to assist and help and guide persons. Prior to me being a part of the movement, it was almost like I feel like I'm in the background and I want to help, but I can't, or I choose not to because I didn't think that the other political parties aligned with my vision for Grenada, as I mentioned before. And so now I'm grabbing this opportunity to do as much as I can in way of development and helping others in my constituency.
You've been going through the constituency of South St. George. What has it been like for you? Now showing yourself in a different light to the people, knowing your background in terms of your tourism, as you spoke a lot. We're certainly going to get into that shortly. How has it been for you thus far in the couple of months that you have shown that your interest being part of the DPM? What has it been like going through the constituency and letting the constituents know this is what I want to do for you if I am given the opportunity? How has it been? What has that feedback has been so far?
So first and foremost, and this one sort of threw me off initially, is that everyone was so welcoming. Right. It seemed as if I have a more familiar face than I expected. So most people knew me or knew of me. Okay. So that helped to break the ice. So when we sat and I listened to stories, and this is what we've been doing. We don't go out and we're not the typical preacher. We sit and we listen to stories. And the initial visits to homes and to people and in my yard sessions were quite heartbreaking to know that people have lost hope. They're disappointed, they're frustrated, and they're actually clinging on to what they believe the DPM can do for them, right? So in that light, we're sharing some hope. We're saying that there is hope. Don't give up. But some of the stories that I heard, even for me, were quite disappointing because persons would have, let's say, voted for someone to represent them and they're not being heard. This is one of the things that stood out to me the most, the fact that people are being ignored. And a lot of the times, even when I sat with people, you realize that they just want someone to listen to.
Was that surprising to you in some way or the other? Surprising?
It was, absolutely, because you tend to hear one side of the stories, especially if you're on social media. You hear this is happening, or we hear things are happening, and then when you sit with people and you listen to them carefully, they will tell you their struggles. They will tell you where the persons are falling short. So it was actually surprising to me.
Politics in Grenada, from where you look at it now, what's your take on politics in Grenada right now? Being into the political realm as you're in, what do you take on politics in Grenada now? So
I too, just like some of the people I'm talking to, is quite disappointed in the way that this political arena has evolved. If you take a look at the approach by many political parties, the focus is a lot on tearing down or opposing. So for instance, I'll give you an example. As an opposition, or if we're going to oppose something, we should in the same breath have an alternative measure. Right? So we shouldn't just be opposing for the opposing sake of it.
Yes.
And I also think that we can work together. I'll give you an example. So there's a gentleman that I went to see because persons in the community would have mentioned that he needed some assistance in way of his home being somewhat dilapidated. We went to talk to him, and I said, let me go see if we can actually assist. And I spoke to the gentleman, and he was in tears. literally. And he says, Miss, you're the first person that's ever actually come to talk to me. So I said, did you go through the normal procedures? Did you put your names down for the necessary help? And he said he did, which was probably 2 or 3 years ago. He's never heard anything. No one got back to him. And when I spoke to him, and we realized the magnitude of the damage in his house, we're unable to actually assist. We don't have that sort of money right now. We are in the process of fundraising events. And
you're not even the official opposition, more or less.
Well, exactly. But I still thought, let's see what we can do as a community to help him.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this to say that I may not always be in a position to assist financially, but I can help connect the dots.
Okay.
So even if it means me calling the ministry now and say, hey, can we follow up on an application or the necessary requirements that this person may need. So, and then I channel the information back to the gentleman because for some reason there's not enough communication for one or more reasons, but if I can actually help connect the dots, then that's us working together. And I don't see why we cannot work together. This sort of tearing down and opposing just for opposing's sake, I think it's imperative for us to actually work together. We can support different political parties, but if we are genuinely interested in helping each other within our communities, we can actually work together.
There's a saying for me, you may hear a conversation of this within the private realm that, politics is a tough job. Being a politician is a tough job it is. Are you seeing that thus far? And have you seen the challenges that comes around for other politicians who are there before you? Have you able to notice that and think, well, maybe there are ways I could work around that to make it easier?
I identify a lot of challenges that politicians who have been there over the years.
Yeah.
You have to be tough. Once you've entered the political arena, you have to be tough.
A bit of a backbone, supposed to be.
Exactly. And you also have to remain focused.
Yeah.
So if you know your goal is to achieve XYZ, you have to not listen to all of the noise and just remain focused on what you're planning to do, and that helps.
All right. We drew for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, we continue with the conversation. Of course, we have Charmaine Gibbs with us this morning representing the DPM. Stay with us, folks. We got much more to talk about. We'll be right back after the break. Don't touch your...
Building or renovating your home or business? Why not use clean, renewable energy? Install solar panels to power your home and office and see your energy costs go down and your savings go up. Using renewable solar-powered energy protects our environment, reduces our carbon footprint, and slows the devastating impact of climate change. Republic Bank can help to finance construction and renovations that make use of renewable energy. Visit any Republic Bank branch and ask about renewable energy financing options today.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
The Ministry of Agriculture White Potato Production Initiative is an OECS sub-regional project aimed at reducing Grenada's reliance on imported white potatoes, which in 2025 had an imported value of over 4.5 million EC dollars. The White Potato Production Initiative is part of the Ministry of Agriculture's food security drive and is being undertaken with the simultaneous cultivation of other crops such as sweet potatoes, pineapples, coconuts, carrots, and other vegetables. Other OECS countries like Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines are already at an advanced stage in white potato production, with Dominica completely cutting the import of white potatoes during the first quarter of 2026. Grenada is now preparing to advance production for better output in 2027. The Ministry of Agriculture, Lands and Forestry, ensuring food and nutrition security for all.
Pick
Picture this. It's Sunday, June 28th. You arrive at Rhythm and Spice at Quarantine Point Recreational Park from 3 p.m. Collect your signature stemless wine glass, settle into the vibes with graphic sounds, and begin enjoying a food-inclusive spread of Grenadian favorites. Then from 3 p.m. until 6 p.m., take in the fun with mini scenic ATV tours and tuk-tuk rides with Ride Go. Also get a chance to win special prizes from our sponsors. Then from 7 p.m., we turn up the intensity as Black Storm takes you stateside for live entertainment from Sakina and the Alpha One Band, Tallpree, Shortpree, and Dash, and closes the night with pure party vibes. Imagine enjoying the ultimate brunch experience while also knowing that you are supporting those in need. Dress code brunch chic, island elegant, and spice inspired tone. Early bird tickets are now just easy $200 at GoToFat.com, Grenadian Optical, and through Rotarians, followed by advanced tickets for EC $250. Early bird ticket holders are eligible to win a day pass for 2 at Sandals, Grenada. Rhythm and Spice, the brunch experience, Sunday, June 28th, hosted by the Rotary Club of Grenada. Buy your tickets now and brunch for a cause.
GBN Massology is back. We're officially on the road to spice up the Carenage 3.0, and it all starts here. Live from GBN Studios every Friday at 1:30 p.m. Streaming across GBN platforms, bringing pure energy, culture, and spice man's vibes straight to your screen. Hosted by Charlton, powered by Graphic Sound System, featuring fresh faces and seasoned stars. Massology is where the culture takes center stage. WhatsApp 407-8458 now to secure your spot on Massology. And don't miss the repeat broadcast at 8:30 p.m. This is Massology, the heartbeat of Spice Mass. Don't miss it.
Welcome back to our listeners. Welcome back to our viewers once again. To the point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. Of course, we have representing the DPM this morning. We have Ms. Charmaine Gibbs with us, and so it's a pleasure having her on the program. Ms. Gibbs, welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. I want to get into another segment of the conversation this morning. Something I would say is up your line, if I could say it that way. No. The Democratic People's Movement, as candidate as you are, for the Southern Shore, how do you see tourism contributing to the economy, the development of course, your constituency, and across Grenada, if the right policies, per se, has been put in place? Let's start about that.
Okay. So as you were saying,
you said you seem to be a champion for tourism, and I'm grasping that because I'm here, and we're going to get a bit into that as we go along in this segment. But talk to me about that.
Like you say, that's up my alley.
Yes.
And more so that being a tour operator, by the way, let me just add this. I've done this for so many years, and I'm so passionate about it that it no longer feels like a job for me. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it makes it a lot easier to go out there and do what you have to. You put your heart into it. So with that being said, there's a lot of aspects of tourism that we can enhance. I am not going to sit here and say that we haven't done any work. We have evolved over the years, and I do think there's a lot of policies that we can put in place to enhance what we already have. Yeah. And I'll mention some of what I think just off the top of my head. If we were to focus on selling Grenada not just as pure Grenada, but more so as a tri-island state. When you hear other destinations, other regional islands, for instance, you hear St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you hear Trinidad and Tobago. We wanna hear Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique as a tri-island state, and not for so many years we focus on pure Grenada. Pure Grenada allows visitors to sort of forget that we have these other islands. So if we can turn a lot of the promotional aspects into Tri-Island State as a destination, I think that will help include Carriacou. Recently, I mentioned that no trip is worth the while coming to Grenada without including Carriacou. You must visit Carriacou.
But just not tapping on you, but the Port Grenada theme, wasn't it encompasses both Carriacou and Petit Martinique?
Of course it was. Yeah.
But we understand you say it's pure Grenada.
We know that because we live here and we understand that it's a tri-island state. But for persons first time hearing about Grenada, when you hear pure Grenada, you don't necessarily know that it includes 2 other islands. Okay. And I think, and actually, last night I looked at a quick interview with Vaughn. He's representing Grenada in the St. Kitts Music Festival. And I was so proud to hear him introduce himself. He said, I am Vaughn from the Tri-Island State, Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. And it was just beautiful to hear that he pushed all 3 islands and not just, I'm Vaughn from Grenada. So this is where I'm going with it. Even in my recent trip to Barbados, when we talked about Carriacou and we mentioned we have 2 carnivals. We have Carnival in August, we have Carriacou's Carnival in February. And the Barbadian people were surprised. They were like, oh, really? And they almost forgot that we have Carriacou. So this is one of the aspects that we need to
talk to me more about that particular visit, to Barbados. Was it called that trade expo per se? Was it?
Yes, it was a tourism trade expo.
Talk to me about that, more about that particular visit to Barbados.
Right.
And what was gathered a whole lot from you being at that particular trade expo?
So it was a joint effort between private sectors within the tourism industry. So there's a few of us as tour operators, together with GTA, which was the Tourism Authority. And I've always, for years, recommended that we have joint ventures. We can't expect that the authorities or the government has to do everything on their own. And I've always said, listen, include us. We will help. Come on the bandwagon. So we went to Barbados, and I was only too proud to represent not just my company, but also as a Grenadian and to push Grenada. It was very welcoming. Barbadians came out, they were excited, they wanted to hear more of what we had, and so what we did is we pushed more of what we thought is unique to Grenada, things that the other islands don't have. Even though we're a region and we're in the Caribbean, each island is uniquely different. So we were able to present a lot of what is unique to Grenada. And people were very excited and said, hey, we're gonna start planning our trips. So it was a good venture.
Tell me, as a tourism entrepreneur yourself, and a political candidate now, what opportunities do you believe Grenada is missing when it comes to marketing itself to our Caribbean neighbors, per se? Tell me about that.
So, because each of the islands have similar sites or terrains, so we all have beaches and we all already have the sun and the weather. This is where we have to focus on probably having collaborations with the airlines, the hotels, everyone who's within that tourism industry. What I think is missing, one would be probably the government and the airlines, or even anyone in the tourism sector, sitting with airlines to attract more affordable fares. This is something that we're hearing from other destinations, other regional destinations, is that the fares are quite high to Grenada, and so they would choose to go to St. Lucia or to Barbados because the fares are more affordable. And I've heard this from a lot of my Trinidad tour operators. So that's missing. Another thing that I think we can do differently is to not focus on Spice Mars. Keep the focus there because we've filled all the flights and all the hotels this year, so that's fantastic. But I think we need to concentrate on having business throughout the year. We want visitors throughout the year. Of course, we're going to have a considered slow period. We'll have less persons coming.
How do you envision that to happen, though? when you say throughout the year, how do you envision that happen?
So typically, we know there's the peak season and there's a slow season. So peak season is when a lot of the typical tourists will come from Europe and North America, and they come for sunshine and the weather, beaches, and then we will get the opportunity to sell the other sites. But for the remaining months where we don't have cruise ships, we can have just as many visitors if we were to sell and promote our festivals. I don't know if you know that we actually have tournaments and festivals every month, whether it's in Grenada or Carriacou.
Really?
We have a festival every month.
Some of them you don't hear about.
And this is something that needs to change. So persons need ample time to plan their trips. You need at least maybe a year. You need to book accommodations, you need to save up, you need to book your flights. And so promoting Carnival in Carriacou or the Lobster Festival, or we have Reggae Festival that we do each April, and give persons enough time to book their trips. And we have events enough to have visitors come throughout the year. Okay, so the focus on the 6 months of the peak period, I want to change that. I want us to focus on packaging Grenada in a way that we have activities and things to do throughout the year.
You know, I'm sure you being, of course, as an entrepreneur, tour operator, as you mentioned, you hear sometimes from visitors the underdevelopment of our tourism sites. I, as a Grenadian myself, and you know, sometimes we don't always go around and look at it, but when we do, there's nothing much to attract you as being a local itself. What's your take in terms of what's your envision for, especially for the tourism sites? Is there much more that could be done in terms of the enhancements of them at the stage? They have those who has remained the same way for the last 20 years. What's your take on that?
So,
I see you smile because you know where I'm coming from with this.
I am, because you said something that sort of, when you said as a local there is not much to see, and I have to disagree with you.
You disagree with me?
But I agree with you in that there's a lot of work in terms of product development. I travel extensively throughout the Caribbean, and there's a lot of other islands who have almost no resources, and yet they have a lot of visitors because they utilize the little that they have, and they have developed the little sites that they have. And so when you get to a site, there's more to do other than just swim in a waterfall. Right? So I'm saying this to say that if we were to enhance the sites that we have, and not just the nature aspects of Grenada, but also a lot of the old plantation houses. We have a rich history and heritage, especially in St. Patrick's. Let's bring some of that business towards the north of the island, enhance some of the sites, and again, it has to be a joint venture. It cannot be that we're dependent only on the owner of the property. We have to get government involved, and it has to be joint ventures. And once this is done, then there's more to see. You go to, let's say, I'm going to give you an idea. The forts. I think we had this a few years ago where there was a lovely bar set up at the fort, and you can actually visit and walk through the tunnels at night. It was well lit, and there was a bar, and there was live music. These are things that we need to introduce and develop our sites more, so we're not just coming to a pure Grenada to swim in a waterfall or to see the Mona monkeys. So there is a lot of work in terms of product development that needs to be done.
I mean, when I said as much as see, because when you it's available to you always, there's not much that you see because it's always there. I mean, for someone visiting the island, they may say, yes, there's a lot. But sometimes for me as being a local, I think there's more that could be offered in it.
Of course.
You understand? That's the direction I was really going with when I say there's not much to see.
And I'm glad you said that, because this is something that the DPM actually encourages. Now, we're not ones to sit behind closed doors and create policies. A lot of the focus is on listening to people to help create our policies. Okay, so when we go and we have our In My Yard sessions, it's not about saying, hey, I'm a candidate and this is what we're going to do. We want to hear from you. We want your input, and this is what we will then take to the tables and sit and say, yeah, listen, this is what's needed. It's not just all about us as candidates or members of the movement. We are including all of the public, all of the community into policy making.
Great. We due for a break once again. Let's take it, folks. We'll be right back. Stay with us. It's To The Point, Classic Radio GBN TV. We coming right back. Don't touch.
Inviting all who missed the performances of Lucy's Straw Hat, as well as all who are visiting for the Diaspora Homecoming. Come out and enjoy the final staging of this spectacular piece of Grenadian theatre on Friday, 26th June, 7 p.m. at the Gateway Conference Hall at Point Salines.
I tired of cuckoo and flying fish.
Well, I'm going to take the flying fish wings and stick it in the cuckoo and call it flying cuckoo and fish.
Lucy's Straw Hat, a moving drama written and directed by Christy Riggs and inspired by the mysterious disappearance of the Island Queen schooner.
She must be a doctor someday. Does she want it badly? She wants it badly.
You're developing a criminal mind. Richmond Hill making sign for you.
Lucy's Straw Hat. Admission $75. Tickets available at GoToFet or at the door.
We Island Queen God, the mystery of the island.
Mixology is back. We're officially on the road to spice up the Carnage 3.0. And it all starts here. Live from GBN Studios every Friday at 1:30 p.m. Streaming across GBN platforms, bringing pure energy, culture, and spice man's vibes straight to your screen. Hosted by Charlton, powered by Graphic Sound System, featuring fresh faces and seasoned stars. Mixology is what the culture takes center stage. WhatsApp 407-8458 now to secure your spot on Mixology. And don't miss the repeat broadcast at 8:30 p.m. This is Mixology, the heartbeat of Spice Mass. Don't miss it. Welcome back, listeners. Once again, welcome back to our viewers, especially those of you via social media platforms. Good morning to you and welcome. Certainly, thanks for having you with today's edition of To The Point. Ms. Gibbs representing, of course, the movement with us this morning, and it's certainly an interesting conversation having with you this morning. I'm certainly feeling very happy having this conversation with you this morning. But I want to get back into my next level of the conversation with you this morning, and this segment is once again it's up your alley, as we keep saying, because I realize that of course you do have a passion for tourism and how the experience an individual would have on the island. I want to ask you this. You own a tourism business yourself. Based on experiences, what is the biggest challenge facing tourism entrepreneurs in Grenada today? And what practice, or should I say, what practical steps could be taken to help them grow?
Okay.
Yeah.
So some of the challenges that we encounter as a tourism business would be financial support. Talk about that first. So because, again, we are known to have these peak periods and slow periods, the industry is famous for being unpredictable. So if we went to a financial institute for help and support, they tend to look at me with this face, meaning we don't trust. The numbers fluctuate quite a lot. And so we have the challenge of, or the task of trying to convince them that no, we can sustain for the slow period. And so they're a bit hesitant to help. So in terms of growth, and us wanting to grow as a tour operator or any tourism business, we do have that challenge because they look at us in the tourism industry as only operating for the 6-month period.
Yeah.
So that's one of them. Another challenge that we have is that because the focus is on that 6 months, again, that slow period, we have to sometimes try to live off of what we made in the peak season. So monies are then not as much as we would have made during the peak season.
Okay.
So it's a struggle to sustain these 6 months. And so much that I've actually seen hotels close for 3 and 4 months. What happens then is that persons then are forced to look for other work. All right. So this then causes a high turnover in some of the establishments because of this, again, slow period. There's hotels who are rotating staff and closing the doors, and literally you get paid for your vacation time, and for the rest of the months you're home without money.
Yeah.
Right. So these are some of the challenges that I know we face as tourism businesses in the sector.
But what more would you like to see? Of course, let's put it in the perspective of DPM. Of course, becomes the government of the day. What are some? How do you folks envision that fixing that problem?
Right. So as we mentioned with the airfare,
yeah,
if we concentrate on regional travel,
yeah,
and this is what we did last week when we went to Barbados, I have found, and this is where the idea came from, is that during those same slow months, a lot of Trinidadians over the years used to come, and they help sustain our businesses.
Okay.
Right? Thanks to all the Trinidadians who ever visited. When they come, they don't sit on beaches. They want to go shopping. They do excursions. They go to the restaurants. They want to remain active. And this is where the idea, and I said, you know what? If Trinidadians are coming up, why can't we tap into the other islands and promote Grenada regionally instead of islands actually competing against each other? Come together and we travel within the region. So by visitors coming in that slow time, help sustain the tourism industry.
Okay.
So I think that's one of the focus that we can continue doing. And in all fairness to the GTA, and they're doing a fantastic job, by the way, and they've been doing it for a few years, and they've sort of invited us as the private sectors now to join in with them, and it's working.
Tell me this: how important is these regional partnership, and that goes back to, of course, your visit to Barbados. What long-term benefits do you expect Grenada to gain from participating, of course, in events like that? Let's go back a wee bit to that visit to Barbados. What do you think Grenada will gain from participating, especially being part of that partnership?
Right. So I know the work that we did, even if it was a 3-day event, and the way that we promoted Grenada, I know it was an eye-opener for a lot of persons in Barbados.
Yes.
We were able to reiterate and explain to them that there were airlines that flew to Grenada almost daily. We explained to them the things that they can do once they get here, all the different services in terms of airport pickups, the different excursions. A lot of them who wanted to just come and eat oil down. The festivals, we were able to explain to them, and then of course not forgetting Caracou. So by us going to Barbados to explain all of this, added a personal touch and not just overhearing a regular promotion, let's travel to Grenada. So that to me is just part of what we need to do. That was just Barbados. We need to focus on all of the islands regionally and sell what we think is unique to Grenada, not just another beach or another pure Grenada.
All right. Many young Grenadians are looking for of course, for opportunities at home. I don't think, as a Grenadian yourself and myself also, I don't think you don't know of a young Grenadian who's not looking for opportunities, especially here. I'm not always wanting to leave the island. Tell me this: how can a stronger tourism industry create sustainable jobs and encourage more young people, to become entrepreneurs?
So what you mentioned about people every day wanting to probably remain and not necessarily go away. You know, we having the challenges with the visa requirements in the States, for instance. And so we want to encourage our youngsters to get involved and to remain here. And what's important is that they receive the training and the skills that is needed to work within the industry.
Yes.
So a hotel, for instance, can hire someone and you are taught the procedures of a check-in, for instance. So you know exactly how to check in a guest when they come. However, there's still a lot of soft skills and customer service skills that is missing in the industry. I'm not sure if it's a new generational thing, because for us back in the day, this came naturally to us. Yes. We always had common courtesy and was always kind, and we knew to listen to the guests rather than to stay on the phone. But now it's actually missing. And I think one of my plans for the South is to pair a training institute together with a job placement, right? So if you pair the two, and we actually have everyone trained up in these areas, then when you go out into the workforce, you can then concentrate on your procedures, because you're already prepared for the disgruntled guests, or if you have a situation, and the soft skills, as we say. So that I think is missing, and I would love to focus on having everyone who's planning to work within the hospitality industry trained and ready up, as we say, for dealing with any situation.
I wish you could expand more on that job center, because it sort of grabbed my feeling a wee bit in terms of that. I always like to hear opportunities, especially for young people. Mm-hmm. Expand a wee bit on that job center to connect young Grenadians with opportunities. And when I say that, so tell us some more about that particular vision.
Sure.
Tell us more about that vision.
So what I noticed is that there are a lot of job vacancies available, and I'm having a lot of people who are saying they're looking for work. So somewhere along the line, there's a disconnect between the two, and this is where the idea came from, where I thought, listen, if we can put together a job center or job placement institute whereby we keep a database of all the job vacancies available, and I mean not just from private sectors, everywhere. Yeah. So the entire Grenada, whatever institutes there are, once you have vacancies, we have a database with that. Persons are then allowed, job seekers are allowed to come in, and we help pair you with a job that you're interested in, whether you tell us what your passions are, what your qualifications are, and we pair that together with vacancies. We then arrange for your interviews. We actually would prepare you for the interviews. So in addition to the customer service training, we then prepare you for an interview. We tell you what questions are expected, how to dress, how to speak. And so we help, because there is definitely a disconnect. I'm seeing so many job vacancies available, and yet every day I have in my inbox, Miss Charmaine, I'm looking for a job. Can you please help? So I think that job placement center
plays a big role in that also, people being qualified for the opportunities that are out there is available. And a lot of the young people sometimes do not see these particular job opportunities the direction they want to go in.
Yes.
And then the lack of qualification for it leaves that void that you speak a whole lot. Because if you're not qualified, then most likely you would not apply.
Of course.
You understand? So how would that really work, per se?
So in addition to having job placements, another one of my plans is to have a marine school. Yeah. So we train you in different areas of the marine industry, because again, you have a lot of work being outsourced because the lack of qualifications. Yeah. So we have to focus on training and not just getting the jobs, as you say. Once a government is in, and once the DPM is in government, this is where our focus will remain on developing the country and assisting persons in getting a job and actually keeping a job. When we talked about the hotels and having to close its doors for a couple of months, if we have visitors year round, then we have persons who are employed by these hotels or the hospitality industry, and then they keep their jobs because we have persons coming in year round as opposed to just the 6 months.
Interesting to know. We drew for a break once again. When you take that break, when we come back, we give the opportunity to our listeners and viewers. Of course, if they want to tap in with us this morning on the conversation, there may be a listener viewer may want to get to know you a little better too. Probably could ask you a question along those lines. 435-2041. When we come back after the break, don't touch it out, folks. We'll be coming right back. Don't touch your dial.
Cricket fans, the ultimate cricket carnival is completely locked in. The entire Sri Lanka tour of the West Indies is live on Classic Radio. From the explosive white ball battle to the grueling high-stakes test match crown, every boundary, every historic wicket, and every single moment of national pride is coming straight to your living room. Rally with the region. Catch the whole series live right here on your sports leader, Classic 105.5 and 105.9. Sponsored by National Lotteries Authority and Tabats.
This Emancipation Weekend, Freedom Takes the Sea. The Media Workers Association of Grenada invites you aboard Unscripted, the Freedom Edition, Friday, July 31st. Step into an unforgettable night of music, vibes, culture, and connection aboard the ultimate summer cruise experience. Meet your favorite media personalities, party under the stars, and celebrate freedom the unscripted way aboard the Ecstasy. Boarding is at 7 p.m., sailing at 8 p.m. Dress code Freedom Chic. Bold, stylish, unapologetically you. Tickets are limited and going fast. Get your tickets online at GoToFet and at recognized ticket outlets. Unscripted, the Freedom Edition, because the best stories are the ones you never planned.
Inviting all who missed the performances of Lucy's Straw Hat, as well as all who are visiting for the Diaspora Homecoming. Come out and enjoy the final staging of this spectacular piece of Grenadian theatre on Friday, 26th June, 7 p.m. at the Gateway Conference Hall at Point Salines.
I tired of cuckoo and flying fish.
Well, I go take the flying fish wings and stick it in the cuckoo and call it flying cuckoo and fish.
Lucy's Straw Hat, a moving drama written and directed by Christy Riggs and inspired by the mysterious disappearance of the Island Queen schooner.
She must be a doctor someday. Does she want it badly? She wants it badly.
You're developing a criminal mind. Rich man here making sign for you.
Lucy's Straw Hat. Admission $75. Tickets available at GoToFet or at the door.
We Island Queen God, the mystery of the island.
GVN Massology is back. We're officially on the road to spice up the Carenage 3.0. And it all starts here. Live from GVN Studios every Friday at 1:30 p.m. Streaming across GVN platforms, bringing pure energy, culture, and spice man's vibes straight to your screen. Hosted by Charlton, powered by Graphic Sound System, featuring fresh faces and seasoned stars. Massology is what the culture takes center stage. WhatsApp 407-8458 now to secure your spot on Massology. And don't miss the repeat broadcast at 8:30 p.m. This is Massology, the heartbeat of Spice Mass. Don't miss it.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. Once again, it's To The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. And as mentioned before the break, the opportunity shown out to you, listeners and viewers, if you need to call in and ask a question or two. I beg of you to be brief in your contribution this morning for time purposes. Once again, the lines are now open. 435-2041. We do have our first caller via the WhatsApp. WhatsApp caller, you're live. Good morning and welcome.
Yes, good morning, JT, and good morning, Miss Gibbs. Miss Gibbs, I want to let you know, do not get intimidated. If you have an idea of the situation that Minister Steele left the constituency, housing, road, water, bathroom, jobs, it was very bad. And this present minister has done exceedingly well and beyond to help almost everybody. And I mean, he can't do more at the moment. He's trying. So what I want to say to you is, be very careful when the people call you and they're crying. The same person that crying for you yesterday must have cried for Minister Williams before, must have cried for Mr. Diali. So be very careful. And you see this criticizing who is there. Say your plan, what you have, in what you will do if you get into office. And remember, it's the NNP that Mr. Peter David were involved in, that had the people in that deep poverty. So anyways, I leave you, I give you homework to do. Think about it. And goodbye.
Thank you, caller. Thank you. Any response you want to give to the caller?
No, I want to actually thank the caller. I will take heed of all of what you said. I appreciate your comments shared. And you are correct.
All right. We do have another caller. Caller, good morning. You're welcome. We're at the direct line.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning to you. Go right ahead, please.
You know, I actually enjoy that conversation this morning, GT. What I'm seeing is a young lady who has passion for people. But at the same time, you hear her passion, and you could see she have a love for, marketing Grenada and tourism. But I just want to tell her that the present administration is doing a good job, and if you have the ideas, I think maybe you should join them, because thus far they are on a good trajectory, and some of the plans where you talk about as well. But at this present moment, I think the way forward right now is to support the movement in terms of what's going on in Grenada under the leadership of Deacon Mitchell. Deacon Mitchell and his members, they are doing an excellent job. Of course, there is no perfection in the human domain, but they're doing a great job, and I think they should be commended for that. At the same time, my sister, I love to hear you talk, and I could see that passion. So God bless you in whatever endeavors. Keep on loving Grenada. One love.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. We do have another caller. Caller via the WhatsApp. Good morning, you're live. Let's hear from you.
Hey, good morning, GT.
Good morning. Go right ahead, please.
First, I want to say the young lady is very explicit, and she had a great command of the English language also. But then I just want to question on some of the things that you said. All right. Okay, you said that you was very impressed by the by Peter David and his party, and then you consider Peter David to be a great leader. But you got to remember that Peter David was with NDC. He created a problem in NDC. Then after he left and he run to NNP, again we heard about the back and forth with Keith Mitchell towards Peter, and then Peter run again because he couldn't get his way. Then he formed a party. All right. So I want you to tell me now what impressed you the most about Peter that you could join his party, and I want you to name 3 things that Peter David showed leadership in, because we know he was in agriculture, he failed agriculture. I remember during the time of Tillman Thomas, they put him in a position and he refused it. So being a leader, you don't refuse position. So I want you to tell me the 3 things. And the last thing I want to ask you, okay, I realize you have a passion for tourism, and Petra Roach was very good in tourism. So that position was available, seeing that you made money from tourism. This is where your bread come from. Why didn't you apply for the position, seeing that you're a Grenadian and you have so much great ideas? Why didn't that position that you grab at it and help Grenada moving forward? And plus, you mentioned something about Carol.
Caller, I think you touched 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's give an opportunity to answer and move on please. Thank you. Let's answer, respond to the caller.
Okay, so to the gentleman who called prior to the last caller, and he welcomed all of my suggestions, and thank you for the compliments. And your recommendations for me to join government, thank you very much. But I wanted to say that I've always worked with GTA, just like with the Trade Expo we did last week. I'm saying this to say that we can still support different political parties and still work along with the government. So I am working along with the government, as you suggested.
All right. Any response for the last caller?
The last caller. Again, I'm appreciative of all of the comments from everyone. Whether you're giving me advice and the questions with regards to our leader and me looking up to the Honorable Peter David. You mentioned some failed industries. In my opinion, I don't think that our leader has failed in any way. We do, and I know political leaders, and even as an MP, have challenges. Okay, this happens. This is historically. We always will have good and bad, or we have areas that we can improve on. My reason for supporting him or being a part of the movement, it's not just for what he has done, but also for the type of person he is. He is a leader, and in addition to that, the experience that he brings to the table is phenomenal, right? So in terms of trying to look for negative things about our leader, I'm not aware of such, and I will continue to support the movement.
We do have another caller. Caller live. Good morning. Welcome.
Yes, Mr. Telesford, thank you for having me aboard in the last show. Very interesting. Good morning, Ms. Gibbs. I know your parents come to think about it, but that's interesting. But I want to invite you. Well, let's see if you know. I think you ought to know is that the waters that you have just jumped into there is very profound. In other words, deep. It's swollen. That means it's revolving. And apart from that, it is turbulent. Here we have to ask some powerful questions. I beg you, do not feel intimidated in any way by the questions that I shall ask you, Mum, because you're a Grenadian, you're entitled, and my purpose is not to intimidate under any circumstances whatsoever. The politics of this country, Mum, over the past 52 years, and you ought to have studied it, has been deceitful due to untrustworthy leadership, and it continues. And as far as I've heard you speak this morning, seemingly, Mum, you and the team that you represent doesn't seem to want to quote-unquote bring an alternative to what we have. A lot has been said about tourism. Is that really the major problem in Grenada, Mum? Then all the 9 political groupings that have held leadership roles in this country over the past 52 years have failed in everything that today the country is poor still, while the quote-unquote political class enriches themselves even more over the people through the backings of the legal authority, lying and deceiving the people. The truth is, Mum, to go directly to my question, what are your intentions, proposals, etc., for refounding the nation? Do you have a legislative agenda? Because you're seeking to get employment in the legislature, the lawmaking sector of the governance of this country. As a member of parliament, it is much beyond being a constituent leader and all that and being a ground god on the ground. No, what is your legislative agenda for the future of this country? As a young person, I beg you, do not be intimidated by these questions. That's just that's the nature of the beast. For what it's worth, Mr. Telesford, do have a nice day. Will you, sir?
Thank you, sir. Have a good one yourself. Respond to the caller, and that will be our final caller for the morning, and we take a wrap after you respond.
Thank you. Last caller, thank you so much, and I'm not intimidated by any way. So actually, thank you for that question. And I want to say, yes, we spoke mainly on tourism today, but that is not the only thing that we're going to focus on. That was a topic of discussion for this morning. That we have lots more plans. And just as a reminder, the DPM, the movement, would like to turn focus on development, right? We have our 3 pillars, and I'm going to remind you, I'm sure you hear this every Friday, but if we were to concentrate on our pillars, and they all connect, which is healthcare that reaches us, food that feeds us, and jobs that pay and stay. These are our 3 pillars. Okay, so it's not just the tourism aspect. All of them need to connect. We need to ensure that communities have the necessary medical facilities, medicine on shelves, jobs, as we talked about with the customer service. So it's not just about infrastructure. As our leader will often say, that we have the ability to walk and chew gum at the same time.
All right. Ms. Gibbs, I want to thank you a whole lot for, of course, appearing on the program this morning. Pleasure to have you. I hope I'll have you back, of course, again on the program, so we can even go more in depth in the conversation this morning. This morning's conversation was more of an introduction.
Of course, and to callers who are, wondering about the focus on tourism, of course, the South St. George constituency mainly is surrounded with by the hotel belt and tourism, and that's why we talked about that in particular this morning. But when I come back again, we will focus on some more areas.
All right.
Okay.
So once again, thanks a whole lot for being here this morning, and best wishes for the rest of the day.
Thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure. Hey, folks, that's what we're going to take a wrap for today's edition of To The Point. I want to thank all who contributed. Have a good one, folks. That's where we say goodbye. See you again on another edition.